Welcome to Soulbound BB Stories, the place where real emotions meet unforgettable moments, where kindness rises against cruelty, and where every story leaves a mark on the heart. If you believe that goodness still exists in this world, you're in the right place. Sit back, listen closely, and let this story unfold. The bell above the diner door chimed softly as lunchtime crowds drifted in and out, bringing with them the clatter of plates, the hiss of the grill, and the low hum of everyday conversations. The diner sat on the edge of a small town highway, the kind of place truckers stopped for coffee and locals came because it felt familiar. Inside, sunlight streamed through wide windows, bouncing off chrome stools and worn wooden tables. It was an ordinary day, unremarkable in every way, except for one corner booth near the window. In that booth sat a young girl named Lily. She was 17, small for her age, with soft brown hair pulled back into a simple ponytail. Her hands rested carefully on the table, fingers slightly curled, betraying a nervous habit she tried hard to control. Lily had a disability that affected her coordination and speech. Her words sometimes came out slower than she wanted, and her movements were often misunderstood as weakness. But inside, she was gentle, thoughtful, and stronger than most people ever realized. She was waiting for her order, a grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup, her usual comfort meal. The diner felt safe to her. She came here often after therapy sessions, sitting quietly, reading the same dog-eared novel she'd been carrying for months. The staff knew her by name. The waitress, Maria, had already brought her water and given her a warm smile, the kind that made Lily feel like she belonged. That sense of safety shattered when the door burst open and a group of teenagers walked in laughing loudly. 4 of them, all around the same age as Lily, wearing expensive sneakers and smug expressions. They took a booth not far from hers, their voices instantly dominating the room. At first, Lily tried to ignore them, eyes glued to her book, shoulders tensing as their laughter grew sharper. It didn't take long for their attention to turn toward her. One of the boys noticed the way her hands trembled slightly as she lifted her glass. He nudged his friend and whispered something. Snickers followed. Lily felt it immediately, that familiar sinking feeling in her chest. She had felt it her whole life. The moment when people decided she was different enough to mock. She lowered her gaze, hoping they would lose interest. But bullies rarely do. "Hey," one of the girls called out, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Why are you shaking like that?" Lily swallowed hard. She didn't answer. Her therapist had taught her not to engage, that sometimes silence was safer. Another boy laughed. "Maybe she's scared of her own sandwich." The table erupted in laughter. A few diners glanced over uncomfortably, then quickly looked away. The room felt smaller, heavier. Lily's cheeks burned. She focused on her breathing, counting silently, just like she'd been taught. 1, 2, 3. She told herself it would pass. But then one of them stood up. He walked over to her table, towering above her, casting a shadow across her book. "What's wrong with you?" he asked loudly enough for half the diner to hear. "Can't even talk." Lily tried. She opened her mouth, forcing the words out slowly. "Please, leave me alone." Her voice trembled, but the words were clear. Instead of stopping, it seemed to encourage them. The boy smirked and turned back to his friends. "Did you hear that?" Took her like 5 minutes just to say that. Then, in a moment that felt unreal, he turned back and slapped her. The sound echoed sharply through the diner. A gasp rippled across the room. Lily froze, her head snapping to the side, her glasses sliding crookedly on her face. For a second, she didn't even feel the pain. Just shock, confusion, humiliation. Then the sting hit, and tears welled in her eyes. Maria dropped the tray she was carrying. Plates shattered. "Hey," she shouted. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" The teenagers laughed nervously now, adrenaline buzzing. "Relax," the boy said. "It was just a joke." "A joke," Maria snapped. "Get out, all of you, now." The diner owner came rushing from the back, face red with anger. Other customers muttered, some standing, but no one moved fast enough, boldly enough. The group backed away, still chuckling, throwing one last cruel look at Lily before heading toward the door. As it slammed shut behind them, the diner fell into a thick, uncomfortable silence. Maria rushed to Lily's side, kneeling beside the booth. "Oh honey, are you okay?" she asked softly, reaching for her hand. Lily nodded faintly, though tears now streamed freely down her cheeks. Her face throbbed, but worse was the ache in her chest, the familiar feeling that no matter how hard she tried, the world would always see her as an easy target. "I'm so sorry," Maria whispered. "I should have done something sooner." The owner called the police, his voice shaking with anger. But Lily barely heard any of it. She stared at the tabletop, at the reflection of her own tears, wishing she could disappear. An hour passed. The lunch rush dwindled. The police came, took statements, promised to look for the teenagers, then left. The diner slowly returned to its usual rhythm, but something had changed. The air still felt heavy. Lily remained in her booth, untouched soup growing cold in front of her. Maria offered to call her parents, but Lily shook her head. She didn't want to worry them. She just wanted the day to end. That was when the sound of engines rolled in from outside. At first, it was distant, like thunder. Then it grew louder, closer, until the windows vibrated slightly. One by one, motorcycles pulled into the parking lot. Chrome gleamed in the sunlight. Leather jackets, patches, heavy boots. They parked in a neat line, engines rumbling before cutting off. Heads turned inside the diner. The door opened. A group of bikers walked in, filling the doorway with their presence. There were 6 of them, all different ages, but each carried the same quiet confidence. They weren't loud. They didn't laugh. They simply scanned the room, their eyes sharp, observant. The diner fell silent again, but this time, it was a different kind of silence. One filled with anticipation. Maria stiffened behind the counter, unsure what to expect. The owner swallowed hard. The lead biker, a tall man with a graying beard and kind but serious eyes, stepped forward. He removed his helmet, setting it gently on the counter. His gaze landed on Lily. He saw the redness on her cheek, the tear tracks, the untouched food. He didn't need to ask what had happened. He walked over slowly, stopping a respectful distance from her booth. He crouched slightly so he wasn't towering over her, his voice calm and warm. "Hey there," he said. "Mind if I sit?" Lily hesitated, then nodded. He slid into the seat across from her, his movements careful, deliberate. The other bikers spread out, taking nearby booths, not blocking exits, just being there. "I'm Mike," he said gently. "My friends and I ride together. We stop here sometimes." Lily struggled to speak, but Maria stepped in softly. "She was hurt earlier," she said. "Some kids." Mike's jaw tightened, but his voice remained steady. "I see." He looked back at Lily. "I want you to know something," he said. "What happened to you wasn't okay. Not even a little bit." Her eyes met his for the first time. There was no pity in his gaze. No judgment. Just respect. One of the other bikers, a woman with a braided ponytail and tattoos along her arms, approached and placed a napkin gently on the table. "For your soup," she said with a small smile. "It's still good if you want it warm. We can ask for a fresh one." Lily's lip trembled. "Thank you," she whispered. Mike nodded. "We're gonna sit here for a bit," he said. "You're not alone." And they did. They ordered coffee, burgers, pie. They joked quietly among themselves, filling the diner with a sense of warmth instead of fear. Customers relaxed. Maria smiled again. One of the bikers struck up a conversation with Lily about her book. Another asked her what she liked to do in her free time. They listened patiently when her words came slow, never interrupting, never rushing her. For the first time that day, Lily felt seen. Outside, the same group of teenagers returned, drawn back by hunger or curiosity. They stepped into the parking lot, laughter dying as they noticed the motorcycles. Their faces paled when they saw the patches on the jackets through the diner window. They didn't come in. Mike watched them from his seat, eyes steady, unreadable. He didn't move. He didn't need to. After a moment, the teens backed away, climbed into their car, and drove off without a word. Lily exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. When it was time for the bikers to leave, Mike stood and placed some bills on the table, covering Lily's meal as well. He looked at her one last time. "You're stronger than you think," he said. "Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." She smiled, a small but genuine smile. "I won't," she said. As the bikers walked out and their engines roared to life, the diner felt brighter. Safer. Lily finished her soup while it was still warm. And though the mark on her cheek would fade in a few days, the memory of what happened an hour later would stay with her forever, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, kindness can ride in when you least expect it. If this story moved you, take a moment to reflect on the power of standing up, the power of simply being there for someone who needs it. Stories like this remind us that the world can be cruel, but it can also be deeply, beautifully human.